Hi there traders, this is Chris from Elite Currency with an overview and analysis, of course, on the euro dollar and pound dollar. This is the euro dollar 4-hour chart, and we had another expansion of the correction to the downside, in fact. So we're seeing a complex correction, certainly becoming very complex. We had an ABC here, we had an ABC here, we had an ABC here, but that was not enough. And in retrospect, it was a little bit short, this ABC. This particular part was quite narrow compared to the length we had in here and here, and we are seeing expansion of that. So far, it does look like this is one piece, this is the second piece right here, and that we're looking at a potential third piece right now. So if you look at how long the first piece was, about 36 candles, the second was about 47. So from this perspective, if it's equal to the first, about 36, we've had about 29 of them. So maybe another 7 candles, give or take. That would mean basically another day or two of corrective trading. So maybe Monday, Tuesday could be still some downside corrective pattern like this. You can see that if we look at the WIS levels, we're certainly not in the trend. It is only at WIS 2, which means that price is definitely in a corrective zone, unless it would break below WIS 3 at 112.27 to be precise. That's also very close to this bottom. In that case, if it breaks through this kind of support zone, we might be finally indeed in a downtrend. In that case, keep an eye on WIS 4 and 5 at 111.40 and 110, all right, as the targets, and basically the downtrend continuation is then looking pretty strong. So as long as it stays above this zone, I think we're definitely in a corrective zone and territory. This still looks like momentum, so if we take this as a correction, three-wave correction like that, as one piece, this being up, this being sideways, then the next step would be up again, following this momentum. All right, so that's still the main analysis. The question is, when will that happen? It hasn't happened yet. That's because these complex corrections are quite tricky. But ultimately, I would say if it breaks above this trend line, give or take, these trend lines, there should be a good chance of a continuation higher. Probably these tops and these bottoms, sorry, these tops would be also, of course, an important kind of zone to keep an eye on, like this right here. So around 114 probably at this moment, and very important because we've had a couple of breakouts to the upside already that ultimately failed a couple of times. So very important if we get this breakout to keep an eye on how it pulls back and whether we get the continuation. All right, that's key because we had a couple of breakouts that didn't go anywhere. So why would this breakout be different? It might, because eventually price will probably change its direction, and it might be the true breakout next time. But if you really want to be on the safe side, definitely always keep an eye on the pullback, and then if there is a bounce or not, and how it bounces, and if there's a continuation break. That will save you a lot of headaches with those false breakouts. All right, let's take a little bit look at other time frames. Here on the daily chart, you can see what kind of a mess we're in right this moment. And for the moment, still there's head and shoulders potential here, looking to play out if it breaks above the neckline. From a WIS perspective, we are in a trending environment already since the break of the third. We had a break third, hook back to the third, and a continuation. So the 6th WIS level is around 111, and we got a lot of space down to the 7th. But for the moment, I still think that the patterns here are indicating a bigger correction. Of course, if it does break through this level at 113-ish, let's put a line there again. Yes, then a downtrend continuation is possible. 111.40 would be one of the targets, next targets to think about. Weekly chart, let's take a look. Pretty bearish candle. That said, this is a pretty important support fractal as well, so reason to be on guard for a bounce. But this is a pretty strong candlestick pattern for the downside, and that's something we gotta keep in mind and not underestimate either. So could we get that bearish breakout? We can't rule that out either, just based on this weekly pattern and candlestick pattern. So that's something to be cautious of for any upside. That's why it's so important to get a break above the 114, because when we look at the weekly chart, 114.45 is last week's high. So 114, 114.50, very important resistance zone. If it breaks above that, then we're actually breaking above last week's high, and that is an important fact, because in that case, the bearish candle of last week is not important anymore. All right, last but not least, the hourly chart. you see there's no time frame here at all that is indicating any trend to the downside on the 1 hour, 4 hour. It's all range territory except the daily, but that too is just a tremendous range at this moment. So I think from a trading perspective, the opportunities at this moment are limited. I don't see any interesting setups at this point. I think that if price were to make one more lower low, that in fact there could be a reversal setup around 112.50 here. Still one more push to the upside. Really the break to the upside has to push above this 114, 114.50. For downside, not even 113 actually, sorry, but 112.27 is important. To break below that, hook back or bear flag and continuation is a key, in fact, for that downside trade, because although 113 might seem important on this daily chart, if we look at lower time frames, in fact, we see that it's not only 113, it's 112.25 as well. So there could be slightly lower low here, but ultimately it could just be part of this corrective pattern here, this third push, 1, 2, 3. So yes, not 113, take that back, 112.25. I want to emphasize extra here as the key support zone. All right, so once again, the trade setups that could be interesting is a reversal, and here in fact the break, pullback, continuation below 112.27, 112.25 let's say, and the potential reversal if it breaks above 114.50, 114 with a pullback continuation as a very important the pattern basically to avoid false breakouts. It's skinny, it's not very interesting chart at this moment on the euro dollar. Pound dollar maybe a little bit different in the sense that the trend is stronger in the 4 hour chart. We are already below WIS 5 and made a pullback to WIS 4, as you can see. So if it does break below this support trend line, there could be a good breakout from WIS 5 down to WIS 6 all the way at 123.13, as you can see. And that's a very interesting zone right here, and could be a very interesting with the trend setup if we get the break below the support trend line. If we don't, then all of that could still be part of a bigger correction on this daily chart. This could still be ABC, ABC, and we might finally get that ABC. It did reach and hit and bounce at the 6th WIS level. So it's possible that the trend is over at that spot and we get this third leg of the correction, as I've mentioned already in many videos before. All right, now if it does break below the 6th WIS level on the daily chart and that 5th WIS level on the 4 hour chart, that would certainly change perspectives. In that case, we got plenty of space left to the downside. 123.25, I think I mentioned on the 4 hour chart. On the daily chart, it would be all the way down to 121.70. A lot of space for downtrend continuation, and that could actually be very interesting trending territory. So yes, pound dollar looks a little bit more interesting than euro dollar if we don't take Brexit into account, and Brexit of course always makes trading the pound dollar nowadays more difficult. So taking that into account, it's a little bit more tricky. But yes, just from chart patterns point of view, trending point of view, bearish break towards the 6th and 7th WIS level, seems interesting. All right, and has a lot of potential there. But be careful of Brexit news, because that can always change things on a dime, and there's a lot of volatility connected to that. Now, with regard to the pullback here, because we might not get the breakout, right? We might get a bounce and some extended pullback, for instance. So if that happens, I think if it stays below this resistance zone, we're still pretty much looking at a downtrend. So even if it moves up like this, but then bounces here, it's still pretty much ready for that bearish breakout. But if it pushes above 127, 126.90 here, that 4th WIS level, the trend line, all these tops and bottoms here, that would change things. And in that case, we might be, just like the euro dollar, looking at a potential bigger bullish correction, a bullish swing that could take price pretty high, because in that case, we might be looking at this bullish swing, bearish correction, and then bullish momentum. All right. So in that case, if we break above 127, yes. And in that case, there is a big potential here for a bigger correction to the upside. There could be a break, pullback, continue to retest all these tops around 132, 132.50 even. All right. So there's a lot of space potential there to the upside. All right, so if you want to know more about the Wiz tool, for instance, or SWAT in general and the methods used, check out ecs.SWAT right here. Click on this button and you'll get an introduction explanation here on our page that you can all find at elitecurrency.com. Wish you all great trading and talk to you soon. Cheers.